Hi everyone, it's Sonia here. So I'm up here in Quebec, and as of last Saturday, we're under curfew. We were already under lockdown, but now also we're not allowed to be outside after 8 o'clock. So I want to let you know how that's been. And also, before I tell you about the curfew, I want to tell you about why they're doing it, which is because they're saying that our hospitals are getting to a critical point where they won't be able to take more people, and they're actually threatening us that they're going to be soon practicing disaster medicine. The doctors are going to be given a list of points, and they're going to give patients points based on this list, and depending on how many points you get, they will either decide to do everything they can to help you live, or they will let you die. The doctors themselves actually described it as, we are going to kill people. So it's gotten really critical here, and I was wondering, how could this be? Because in the spring, our health authorities had told us that they had all kinds of room. They kept reassuring us that they had something like almost 10,000 hospital beds, and they had a lot of ICU beds. They had even made like field hospitals in arenas that were never used. That at the time, we didn't even need all those beds. Now we have fewer cases hospitalized and ICU cases than we had in spring. How is it that now we're running out of beds? How is it even possible? Well, it turns out so many people have quit in the healthcare profession, because back in the spring when this started, our government imposed really draconian conditions on the healthcare workers. But it's like over all these months, yeah, they just got to the point where it was just insufferable, and lots of people have quit. They've taken mental health leaves, and then they've just quit. So the problem is now, because so many people have quit because of the horrible conditions, the hospital's understaffed. So they're saying that an ICU that could have handled 30 people before, now because they don't have the staff, they can only handle 20. That's why there's a shortage of beds. Our hospitals were overcrowded before this whole thing started. They had a crisis in the spring, and now they have even less staff than ever. So it's crazy. So the government's solution was the curfew, among other things. The way that they told us about this was they announced on the 7th that as of Saturday, the 9th, Quebec was going to impose an electroshock curfew for 4 weeks. A lot of us felt like the electroshock was going to be to our morale more than anything. But that's how they put it. Very bad choice of words, I would think. So they kicked it off with an alert that came in on people's cell phones and televisions, which said emergency alert and explained the current situation as if we don't already know, and told everybody that there's a curfew. So don't go outside or you're going to get a fine up to $6,000. So that's how it got kicked off. I don't have a smartphone or cable TV, but I did get the alert on our VR headset, and I didn't even know what it was. I thought the thing was broken, but that was the alert. So then that first night, the police went out and swept the streets. Their headlights were alternating so as to, it gave the impression like they were sweeping the neighborhood. Went down the streets with sirens. Martial law, the province of Quebec, Canada, is now under police rule. Every night from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., no one is allowed onto the streets. Police cars are driving through neighborhoods, sirens blaring, scanning for dissidents to arrest. $6,000 fines, enough to destroy families. They were out there looking for people. You can imagine what that feels like. Yeah, not good at all. Yeah, it was scary. Oh, by the way, I just want to mention, if you do like what I do, I'd appreciate if you donate $1 or whatever amount you'd like to me on Patreon. Once I upload videos, you will get notified by me directly, and you'll also get extra info on there, and it'll help keep my channel going. So if you like what I do, thanks again for your support on Patreon. They don't actually have checkpoints as far as I know, but the police are pulling people over randomly if they find them on the road after 8 o'clock.
Country? Yeah. Yeah, you think this is gonna if you don't return the country? Everybody. Yeah. Right? And you really think so communism is gonna help, eh?
It's not like they give us a whole lot of choice. It's either you do it or you get a fine, you know. And the first night there was a protest and people did go out. I mean, the police said that people could protest. They said you can go out if it's to protest, but then you're going to get a fine. So, and they did get fines. And I know someone who went there and he said he happily took the $1,500 fine. But can he do that every night? You know, probably not. If you have a job where you have to be on the road to get to or from work during the curfew hours, you can go to work. They will give you, I mean, that's according to what the government says. Your employer will give you a paper, which people are calling a freedom pass. So you get your freedom pass that says that, you know, you work at the hospital or you work at Good Food or whatever it is you do. And it's supposed to be that when you show that to the police, they won't give you a ticket, but that's not how it's turning out. A woman posted that this was her experience. SPVM officer C. de Rosier pulled me over on my way to work. I had to ask him to put on a mask. I gave him my letter from my employer and he asked to see what was inside my bag. When I asked him why, he said because he didn't believe me. I told him to call my employer. He said it was just a piece of paper. What else can I show? He threatened to give me a ticket if I didn't show him what was in my bag. It was snacks. So they're doing more than asking people for their papers. They're doing searches. It's supposed to be that if you're walking your dog, you can be out after 8. I've done it. I'll tell you, I don't want to do it. It's not fun, but sometimes the dog has to go out. But I'm telling you, really, it's so creepy to be out there in the street when it's completely empty and the only thing that's going is cops. Like, it's creepy because you don't know. Maybe you get a nasty cop who decides to give you a hard time even for walking your dog. And there was a guy who went out walking the dog with his kid. Was he supposed to leave the kid at home? Was that the problem? Maybe he didn't feel like that was something he could do. Anyway, he was walking the dog with his son and the police show up and stop them and then knock the phone out of his hand. He tells his kid to go home. And the cop is telling him, you're supposed to be at home or we're going to give you a ticket. Oh, he wants him to identify himself. Yeah, he's asking the man to identify himself, and the man says, well, what's your name and your number? And there you go. That's the end of it. So, because the guy didn't produce his ID first, he asked the cop your name and number, and he was going to write it down. And the cop just, he wouldn't tolerate it. Anyhow, there are supposed to be exceptions, but it's turning out that that's not really how it works. Quebec couple hit with curfew violation fine after wife walks husband on a leash. Wait, that's not the story I was going to show you. A couple that was coming back from the Maritimes with their children in the car and who had found out about the curfew as they were en route were stopped by the police on the highway and were fined, even though according to the law or the rule, I'm not sure if it's really a law, but according to these laws or rules that they made, people who are returning from another province are allowed to come in, even if it's after curfew. But the cops still gave them a fine, gave them $1,500 fine to each of the adults. And they had to get a lawyer, and they're going to have to go to court now to try to get rid of these fines. They were explaining that actually the police's job is to give people fines, and then it's people's job to later prove that they don't deserve them. You understand? So all these rules about that you're going or coming from work, that you're coming from another province, or that you have some other valid reason to be out, well, apparently they still fine people, but then you just have to go to court. Can you imagine how clogged up the court system is going to be? When are you going to get to court? Everything is like closed and backlogged already. Our government here, It just seems so crazy. It makes no sense. They make the rules, right? They make the rules for the cops to follow, like give people fines for these things except when XYZ, and then they don't follow it. It's so crazy. Anyhow, people have been protesting in their own special ways besides the official protests and getting fined. Quebec couple hit with curfew violation fine after wife walks husband on a leash. Yeah, I've heard people are also renting out their dogs. Another guy went out to walk his actual dog dressed as a pig.
Juste m'assurer qu'on ait tout respecté les mesures de, comment on dit ça, les mesures de sécurité. Les mesures de sécurité.
He's getting drunk. He knows his rights. Oh, here's the cops. They finally showed up. He's gonna tell them now he has the right to be out because he's got a dog. Oh yeah, and you have to stay within 1 kilometer of your house if you're walking your dog. This guy. He's so trolling them. Well, he didn't get a ticket. They just told him to go home. But yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, on the whole though, this is not a funny situation at all. It's just that Quebecers, you know, over here we just have this joie de vivre, what can you say? Unflappable, dark sense of humor, bit of a punk rock spirit. That's how it is. And like I said, I've been out there, and it's a really bad feeling. It's scary. And it makes me feel so angry to know that we came here because of how they manage things. I have friends who work in healthcare. I work in healthcare. I know what happened. We know what happened. They treated their healthcare workers really, really badly, and they quit en masse. And now they're saying they're going to have the doctors triage who gets to live and who gets to die. It's just horrible what they've done here. I can't wait for there to be an election and kick these idiots out. They've done a horrible job. I thought they were doing okay earlier in the year, but I guess what they did with the healthcare sector, it was bad before. Before any of this started, it was bad. And then in the first wave, it was really bad. It really exposed all the weaknesses and everything that was lacking. It really showed how bad the system was for elders, especially. And then it seemed like things were getting better, but apparently not. And everything that they did before is having a backlash now. They're in way bigger trouble. Even with less hospitalizations and deaths than in the spring, it's worse now. It's a disaster on so many levels. And now we have this horrible curfew, which makes us all feel so oppressed. I don't see how having this curfew is going to solve the problem, because most of this is happening still in the healthcare industry. The number of cases that were from social contacts were actually very low. I have the statistics. I have the graphs. They're right there from the government. Healthcare sector, #1. And then work and school in changing order. Sometimes it's more work, sometimes it's more school. And then daycares. Retail was even a small part. And social events, very, very little. But somehow they want to blame us. You know, they don't want to take the responsibility that it's because of them that their staff has left and that they're in this situation now in the hospitals. They want to make us feel like it's our fault. We didn't stay away from each other enough. Anyhow, that's what's happening here in Quebec. I thought you might want to know. It's not fun. I'll give you an update down the road. And also, I just want to let you know, if you haven't made preparations, don't wait. Don't wait anymore. I have been told that shortages are definitely coming. They're already hitting the construction sector. And I know from someone whose friend is a truck driver that they're bringing in half loads of food. So food shortages are definitely coming. I don't see how they wouldn't be at this point. So please take some time to prepare what you can. And if you would like to buy pre-made MREs that last 25 years, this is what I would recommend. My Patriot Supply are the go-to experts in emergency preparedness. Right now, you can save up to $100 off a 4-week supply of their delicious and nutritious food that lasts up to 25 years. But you might need it as soon as next month if things continue to get worse. Don't let yourself get caught unprepared, not when you can get a 4-week supply of emergency food shipped right to your doorstep. Go to preparewithtruthergirls.com right now. That's preparewithtruthergirls.com. So please check out that link and you will get a discount. So that's it, you guys. I hope you found that interesting. Thanks again for your support on Patreon, and thanks for joining me in the chat. God bless you guys. Thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.